What's up, YouTube? Welcome back for another NFL draft video. Today we're going to go over some of the teams that I thought won the draft. Now that the NFL draft has completed all 7 rounds, we're going to go look back at some teams that I like their draft class and some teams that I weren't impressed with. We can just say the winners. I don't want to say losers because, of course, these draft classes, it takes a couple years to kind of know if they were good or not. Just like, you have to wait a few years to look back, and then you're able to really assess if they're really winners or losers of the draft. So, really depends on the player development and how the team develops the player. I'm just basing it off my analysis and some of the analysis of some guys that I like to watch on YouTube and some guys that I trust. I know some of these guys are pretty good at what they do. I'm not gonna lie with you. I don't know many of like the late round guys or have much of analysis or breakdown for them, but I can just give you my quick thoughts on some of like the players taken on earlier in the draft and whether they meet the needs of the teams or things of that nature. So with that, let's get started. So first of all, one of the teams that I really like their draft class, we'll start off with the Cardinals. I like what they did with this draft class. They got the best receiver in the draft, and they addressed their D-line by drafting a player in Darius Robinson, who is listed as an edge rusher, but I thought was more of an interior defensive lineman. But I think that just shows that he's like how versatile he can play or how versatile he is. And with that, he can probably like fit in with any like holes, or they can use him in multiple different ways. So I'm very interested to see how he plays with this Cardinals defense. And if you look at like this little bingo thing they have on ESPN, it shows you the top 5 needs, and they address the top 3 in receiver, cornerback, and edge, and it's pretty much their first 3 picks. And I really like this cornerback they picked in Max Melton. I wasn't very familiar with him before the whole postseason draft breakdown stuff started going on. But a lot of the guys that I trust and watch were really high on Max Melton, how versatile he is. I hear a lot of good things about him, so that's just another fit for the Cardinals. Meets the needs in that secondary. They needed a lot of needs for that defense, and they addressed the D-line and the secondary. So I like that. And Trey Benson, you can't go wrong with Trey Benson. He's one of the top running back prospects in this draft. I can definitely see him being the starting running back, maybe not this upcoming year, but the next year or a few years after that. Maybe once they move on from James Conner. But I really like Trey Benson. He played really well at Florida State. And running backs really fell in this draft, with the first one being taken in the second round. And I believe Trey Benson was the second running back off the board, or maybe third. I don't remember if he went before or after Blake Corum. But either way, yeah, they got Trey Benson. They drafted a lineman, Isaiah Adams, out of Illinois. Like I said, I'm not very familiar with these guys, or Tip Remian. Other than that, if these guys don't turn out, they're depth pieces. They addressed that defense. It was very defensively focused. Well, not really. I won't say that. It was pretty balanced. They went defense and offense, and they definitely need those needs on both sides of the ball. So that was just one of the draft classes that I liked. Now, one draft class I don't want to say was a loser, but I was very confused about was definitely the Falcons. They were, and everyone knows, it's the Michael Penix pick. I can't say it's so, it's bad. I have to wait a few years, see how Michael Penix plays. I mean, if Kirk Cousins goes down and he balls out, I mean, that's a win, right? But just because they signed Kirk Cousins this offseason, and so a 4-year contract, and he drafted an older quarterback this year, got me confused, because they could have really used this pick to help Kirk Cousins, win, this year or the next few years, or whatever the case may be, just help Kirk Cousins out. And instead, they drafted their quarterback of the future in a Jordan Love situation. And it was just a very confusing pick to most people. Honestly, I thought they could have waited a year or two maybe before drafting a quarterback. But they must have really liked Michael Penix, and teams were probably going to trade up to grab him anyways. So they went ahead and grabbed their guy. So I can't really judge that pick unless like we see how the situation ends up going or how it like gets situated. So we'll see what happens there. It's definitely something I'm gonna keep an eye on. I really liked Michael Penix out of college. I thought he was a very good quarterback at Washington. But of course, something to keep in mind, he did have I believe he had three. Washington had three receivers drafted in the top 50 picks. No, not 50. In the first 3 rounds or something like that. It might have been 50. Well, whatever. They got three receivers drafted. That shows that he had a lot of talent in Washington. And I'm not gonna say he was successful because of those receivers, but it definitely helped. But either way, I did like Michael Penix as a prospect, and just that whole situation is confusing. And then moving on, in the second round, they drafted Ruke with full on thunders there, or whatever. They drafted in their second round pick. That one also I thought was kind of weird because they traded up to grab him, and Noonan out of Illinois was still on the board, and he was ranked like either 1 or 2 in most people's draft boards. But instead they went with the Clemson tackle, which I hear good things about. Like I hear he's the best nose tackle of this draft. Can't confirm or deny, but if that's the case, that's another need for the Falcons. You know, they got 2 defensive tackle. I don't know. They have Calais Campbell. He's old. Yeah, and then they got Grady Jarrett, who's coming off an injury. So it's definitely a need, and they addressed their edge. I thought it was one of their bigger needs. In the third round, in Braylon Trice out of Washington, I do like him as a prospect. So that's one pick I liked, and I thought it made sense. I thought most people had him in like first or second round about a month ago. So you got him in the third round. I think that's a win. I think you got value out of that. And then after that, they drafted another defensive tackle out of Oregon, the linebacker out of Notre Dame, and then running back out of Bama. And then, as the rounds go on, you're less likely to get a hit. But hopefully those guys can develop and maybe change my thoughts on this draft class. So, yeah. Moving on. Got the Bears. The Bears, I think it's definitely a win. You got your franchise quarterback Caleb Williams. You got a receiver for him in Rome Odunze. You drafted a lineman that could be either depth feed, and then I guess you got a punter. You got your punter there, right? So, Caleb Williams, you got the number 1 quarterback in the draft. You got the number 3 wide receiver, depending on who you ask. Most people have him as the 3rd on their draft boards. And you just set up your team nicely to even succeed this year. You traded for Keenan Allen. You drafted Rome Odunze, and you already have DJ Moore. That's awesome wide receiver room there. You signed DeAndre Swift. Great, they had a great offseason. I thought it was a definitely win. It could, at the end of the season, you can look back and potentially be like one of those Texans off seasons they had last year. So we'll see the results of it. I liked it. They got, according to ESPN, they got 4 of their top 5 needs. And yeah, I didn't think defensive tackle was as much of a need. They drafted a kid out of last year. Who was it? Out of Florida? Shoot, I forgot his name. Whatever, but they drafted a defensive tackle last year, so I don't think that was even a big need for them. So I like the Bears draft class. I would consider that one a win for now. Another one I like is the Bengals. The Bengals, they lost a few players, and they need a lot of replacing to do here. And I thought they did a pretty good job of that by starting off with Amarius Mims. They lost Jonah Williams, and they definitely had to work on their own line. Amarius Mims, I think he's massive. He's a massive guy. Tackle out of Georgia. Them linemen from Georgia, they're huge. So it's definitely a project from the analysis I've seen, but I think it's a good pickup. It's the guy I wanted the Dolphins to pick. So I like that pick in the first round. Second round, they went with Chris Jenkins, defensive tackle for Michigan. DJ Reader was a huge loss for them this offseason. And just grabbing this defensive tackle out of Michigan, which I only hear good things about, is definitely a good start to replacing DJ Reader. I'm not going to say he is going to equate to the production DJ Reader had, but, you know, he could definitely develop into that kind of like defensive tackle. But, you know, you got him he's a rookie contract, and you got him on the line, and I think he could be a starter immediately. So there's that. There's rumors that they're going to trade T. Higgins, and the rumors are seeming more and more likely as the offseason progressed. And what they did to address this, they drafted Jermaine Burton, receiver out of Alabama. And I hear good things about the kid, but only downside, I hear just some like character issues, which, you know, if the kid can ball, he can ball. So that's kind of my opinion, and especially in the third round, why not take a shot at him if he has the talents? So I think it made sense, and we'll see how he'll fit in with Jamar Chase and potentially Tyler Boyd. I heard Tyler Boyd might get traded out there as well. Other than that, they dressed for the top 5 needs. I thought they did a good job of kind of like retooling the team, helping Joe Burrow out, getting a hold of that defense. I thought cornerback was a huge need for them. And they did get one in the 5th round out of TCU, Josh Newman. And just taking a look at his analysis here, it's the 25th ranked corner. So, I don't know, man. It's like, not really much to say. I'm not going to judge these kids off of where they get drafted. I want to judge them on how they play in the NFL. And so it's not really too much to break down. Just overall my thoughts, my initial thoughts. All right, moving on. Another draft class I wanted to look at was the Colts. I thought they got 2 huge players with the first 2 picks. Latu, most people, or not most people I think had Dallas Turner as number 1 edge rusher, but he was definitely consensus number 2, and he was even number 1 on some people's. And you're just grabbing him, the first defensive player off the board. I think he would be a good player. The only thing that held him back was just his neck injury concern. A lot of people thought they were going to get Brock Bowers, but he got taken right in front, or a few picks in front of them with the Raiders. And what they do, the second round, they got Adonai Mitchell. So I don't know why he was falling, but he fell a good bit, man. I thought he was one of my top receivers, but he fell to the Colts, and I thought that was a good pickup by them. That got me excited. They got Anthony Richardson some weapons. That offense is gonna be nice. Still got Jonathan Taylor. They re-signed Michael Pittman, and I'm not gonna lie. If they did draft Brock Bowers with the first round pick, that would have only got me more excited. And them drafting Adonai Mitchell, I doubt they probably got Adonai Mitchell if they did draft Brock Bowers in the first. But who knows? That offense is gonna be sick. And they got their edge rusher of the future as well. So it's a good pickup there for the Colts. And they addressed 4 of the top 5 needs. They did address corner, but in the 6th round, Mike Abraham, we'll see how he plays. They got 2 safeties, Jalen and Jalen. So I don't know how you pronounce those, but they got 2 safeties back to back in the 5th round. And yeah, I mean, they got a tackle as well. Definitely had to address the O-line a little bit there. And I just like their pickups. And that's it for the Colts, pretty much. For the Jags, this one, I wasn't too impressed with the guys they picked up. You know, they did address 5 of the top 5 needs according to ESPN. I like Brian Thomas. I thought it was a great pick in the 1st round. And then in the 2nd round, Mason Smith. I don't know. I'm not too familiar with him. You know, none in this draft class got me too excited besides Brian Thomas. So hopefully that Mason Smith, he plays up to that value you got drafted in the 2nd round with. So, and then you got a cornerback out of Florida State, Jarrian Jones. Florida State had a good defense, so hopefully he can fit right in with this Jaguars secondary they had to address. I wasn't too impressed with last season, so yeah. And then another one I liked. You got Kansas City. I feel like they always kill on the drafts, man. They got Xavier Worthy, another fast receiver for Patrick Mahomes. And they drafted a lineman, Kingsley Sumariada, yada yada yada, yada 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 yada. Yep. That's the one helping them. They drafted another tight end for depth there, and I like Jaden Hicks, a safety out of Washington State, a hard-nosed, hard-hitting safety there. I thought it was a great pick by them. I'm not sure why he was falling too. I thought he was gonna get taken in the second round, but he was one of my top safeties, in my opinion. So they got Xavier Worthy. They drafted a lineman at BYU that I liked, and a safety that I liked. I think that's a good draft for Kansas City. So yeah, I thought they killed it. I thought this was a good draft. I have a lot of draft picks on it because I think there's a lot of good talent in this draft. Whether that be because of COVID and pushing everyone back or not, but I don't know. I thought this draft class was stacked, and that just showed in the first round when 6 quarterbacks got taken in the first 12 picks, which still blows my mind. So another team I like their draft class was the Chargers. Most people, I've seen some Chargers fans pissed off they didn't get Neighbors with the 5th pick, but I thought they made the right decision going with Joe Alt. I know the receiving room is not impressive right now, but there was receivers in the second round, and they did get receiver in Ladd McConkey out of Georgia. I thought they could have got Mitchell, the receiver out of Texas there. I thought he would have been a better receiver, but they liked McConkey better. He was higher on their board, so he seems like one of those slot receivers that can get open, something that Quentin Johnson had struggling doing and catching the ball, and which Ladd McConkey seemed pretty consistent with. So I thought it was a good fit for the Chargers. And Junior Colson, he was one of my top linebackers in this draft. Got him in the 3rd round. I think that's nice to replace Kenneth Murray. Hopefully he can develop into that linebacker that the Chargers have been looking for a while. And other than that, they did draft a defensive tackle. Which was another need of theirs, and drafted a couple of secondary depth as well as some more receivers. In the 7th, they did draft Brendan Rice out of USC. He fell pretty hard. And Cornelius Johnson out of Michigan. I mean, Michigan had a good team. Their offense was pretty solid. And Brendan Rice, the son of Jerry Rice. Yeah, so let's see if he got some pop skills in there. So Chargers, I think that was a great draft for them. I thought they got a lot of needs, got a lot of talents, and a lot of potential prospects in there. So, or not potential prospects, potential starters. Moving on, you got the Rams, and you just look at the Rams. They went hard on defense, something I thought they had to do, especially with the earlier picks. Out of the top 5 picks for them was on the defensive side, and they got Jared Verse with the 1st pick. I thought he's a great edge rusher out of Florida State. Florida State had a great defensive line. And just to go with that, they got his teammate Brandon Fisk, who I thought was one of the top defensive tackles. He was probably like the third best defensive tackle in my opinion. And I thought it was a great value there in the 2nd round. Got him to pair up with Jared Verse. I can't wait to see that defensive line, how they develop together, and they got the chemistry. I mean, they played together at Florida State. And they also drafted Blake Corum in the 3rd. So, got another running back in that running back room. I thought he's gonna be a valuable piece there. Cameron Kinchins out of Miami, safety. He was a top safety for a bit in the early draft process, and he kind of just fell. Not sure as to why, but if he falls to you guys in the 3rd, I mean, might as well, right? So I thought that was a good value pick. They drafted another edge rusher out of Washington State, and Brennan Jackson. Drafted another defensive tackle, Tyler Davis. Got some depth, just building on the defensive line. And in the later rounds, they got a kicker and some offensive pieces. So just getting those defensive pieces there, I liked what they did in this draft, and can't wait to see the Rams, man. They're rebuilding that defense. They did lose Aaron Donald, so they're definitely trying to replace that pass rush from this draft and some of those rookies. We'll see how they all fit in that defense. Can't wait to see that. So Rams was another team that I was impressed with. The Eagles, another team that seems to constantly get good picks year after year. Quentin Mitchell fell to them in the first round, and of course he fell to the Eagles. How can they not take him? Number one corner in majority of people's draft boards. He was in the running with Tyrion Arnold. And yeah, and in the second round they traded up, got that guy Cooper the Gene. Fell to the second round. I wonder why. Some people say he's gonna play safety for the Eagles. We'll see. We'll see. Some people say he'll be a good fit for the corner or the slot corner. That'll make more sense to me, as you know they'll have Quentin Mitchell and Darius Slay on the outside covering the borders. He'll be probably more the inside, and it'll make sense to put him at safety. I don't know why he fell. A lot of people thought of him highly, even the analysts on NFL, the Draft Network or ESPN, and even the guys on the Pat McAfee show. So those are good picks. I like that Will Shipley pick out of Clemson. Some running back depth there. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. out of Clemson, a linebacker, fell into the fifth round. I was kind of surprised at that. I thought he was going to go within the second, third round, day two. He fell to day three in the fifth round, and I thought, I mean, that's a good pick by the Eagles. I think he has some talent there, and he could potentially develop into a good player, especially for that defense. And they also got Johnny Wilson, a wide receiver out of Florida State, in the sixth round. I'm also surprised he fell that far. Johnny Wilson played well at FSU this year. Don't know why he was falling, man. He was, say, early winter, maybe January. He was like almost like a first round draft pick. So if people thought he was a first round draft pick back then, he definitely has talent. Yeah, I mean he's tall, 6'6" on the outside. Why wouldn't you want him? I thought that was a good pick by the Eagles there. I thought they got a good value on their picks. I thought a lot of players fell to them that were highly touted. So I thought another good draft for the Eagles, man. They're going to be good for a long time, the way they just keep drafting these studs. So next, we got the Steelers. Steelers got that guy. They sniped a few guys that I wanted the Dolphins to draft right in front of our eyes. First off was Troy Fautanu out of Washington, a guard. He's the more pro-ready guard compared to Mims, I thought. But he's a good fit. I think he's a good fit for the Steelers. He's going to play well. He's a pretty good guard, in my opinion. They also got Zach Frazier. They kept investing in that line. Good idea. Protect Russell Wilson or Justin Fields. I think that line's going to be good this year, potentially. And they also got Roman Wilson to replace Deontay Johnson or Chase Claypool, I guess. But Roman Wilson, I thought he was a good receiver. Coming out of Michigan, got him in the third round. Good values there. Good route running. Yeah, I thought he played well in Michigan last year. Peyton Wilson out of a linebacker at NC State fell to the third round. I thought this was another team I thought got a lot of values out of their picks. Mason McCormick, another good guard. I mean, I can't complain with any of the picks they got, and that's why I like it so much. I know they didn't get a tackle, but they invested heavily in the guards. They drafted Broderick Jones last year in the first round. I think that line is going to set up quite nicely, and it's going to be someone nice. That Steelers team is going to be interesting. I don't think Mike Tomlinson is going to have a losing season next year, but we'll see. The way he's just drafting these guys now, this year and last year, he's killing. He's getting by the studs, in my opinion. And any other teams? Just taking a look at the 49ers ones real quick. I like my guy out of Florida, Ricky Parcell. Did not expect him to go in the first round. 49ers got him in the first round. Like I said in my first round recap, I thought this just seems like a sign they're going to trade either Debo or Ayuk. And they got Renardo Green out of Florida State. I really like this pick. I wasn't at first, and then they showed the highlights of him guarding Malik Neighbors, and Brian Thomas Jr. when they played LSU, and definitely saw talent there. So that pick kind of grew with me. I thought they reached on a few of their picks, but I kind of like what they got there. So this is one of those draft class I want to say um, is good, but definitely reached on some picks. But overall, like I like the players they drafted, and I can't wait to see what they do with these players. And they have a good history of drafting good players. So yeah, that's just gonna conclude my video. Just gonna talk about a few teams here and there. Those were some of my favorites draft classes that were like from the teams. And yeah, not a lot of teams that like say lost it. Just the Falcons. I was confused what they were doing. But other than that, stay tuned for more NFL content. I'll be having more off-season recaps, going over some of the divisions, and as we get closer to the season, we're gonna get the schedule release. We'll be talking about some of the schedules there. We already know some of the games. We know that the Packers Eagles are gonna be played at Week 1. Second game of the season on Friday in Brazil. Interestingly enough, so first international game outside of England. Yeah, yeah, sounds right. No, did they play Mexico? I think they played Mexico. Well, whatever. We'll talk about all that later. We'll go over some more off-season stuff, and yeah. Overall, I think this could be a great draft class. We're gonna look back and see all these talent, and maybe even the later rounds. But the first round, I think, was stacked. So, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like the video. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment on who you thought won the draft or who lost the draft. And yeah, I'll get you guys next time. Peace.